or what we did on your quiz, is going to be applied to this. That's why we had to do it first. Today we're multiplying radicals. Now you'll notice on every problem that the radicals are alike. You can't multiply a square root times a cube root. Well, not while it's in radical form. There is a way to do it using rational exponents, but we're not going to do that. But you'll notice on every problem, it's a cube root times a cube root or a square root times a square root. That's what it has to be before you can actually multiply them together. So you're not going to get any problems where I'm trying to fool you. Now please don't forget now to write your roots correctly so you won't lose points. Now the only thing you got to remember on this is two words. Let's see if you know what I mean when I write this. What do you think that means in relationship to multiplying the radicals? That's a good conclusion, even though you don't have to do that. But what am I saying when I say inside, outside? Exactly. You multiply outside together and you multiply inside together. It doesn't matter what order. Are you following me? You can't take something outside of a radical times something inside, and vice versa. So the first step to this would just be multiply. What do we get here? We multiply the outsides, -4, square root, and what are we going to get on the inside? 36 p to the 4th. No. Like anything we do, you have to simplify. So guess why we learned to simplify last week? Because you need to know how to do that before you can multiply. Because once you multiply, you got to simplify. Does that make sense? See if you can simplify that, since you're supposed to know how to do that. You just took a quiz over it. I just gave it back to you. It's like reducing fractions. You never leave an answer in a fraction not reduced. You always do that. And some of this might help those of you that missed some things on the quiz, because we're going to be doing some simplifying here that's similar to the quiz. Yes? Yeah, you can ask a question. Say it again. Very good. She said, -24p to the second. Anybody else get that? All right, here's how you do it. Now, I'm going to show you something today that's a little bit more of a shortcut of doing these. If you want to continue to do that long method I showed you for the last quiz, if that's what you're comfortable with, you should continue to do that. But what's the square root of 36? Well, then I don't really need to do the 2 times 2 times 2 things, do I? I mean, if you can see you have a number that has a square root, take the square root. What is the square root of 36? It is 6. What is that times -4? So you have 6 times -4 out here. What's the square root of p to the 4th? What do we do with the exponents? We divide by the root, don't we? How many times does 2 go into 4? 2. So that gives us a p squared. Are there any left inside? No. No remainder. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Is that what you're going to tell me? Thank you. So now you have +6 times -4, which is -24p squared. Some of you are confused and think there always has to be something left inside. If it has no remainder, if it's a perfect square, you just take the square root out and nothing left inside. Okay, let's see if you can do number 2, which is a cube root. Right? That's a cube root, isn't it? We may not need to take a lot of time to do this today, since you should already know how to simplify. Multiplying's easy. Outside times outside, inside times inside. Well, what is outside? What do you think's out there if there's not anything written? A 1. Does that make sense? Yeah, today's the 16th. And please do one step at a time. Multiply everything together, inside, outside, then simplify. You do? Oh. Well, you got to simplify it like we did on the quiz. I told you the negative always comes out. You always take the negative out, don't you? All right, let's do this one step at a time. What will this equal when they are multiplied together? Without the simplifying. -2 cube root, negative, right? Yeah. 120x to the 6th. And if you got to there and stopped, you'd get half credit. Now, $120, you're going to have to deal with that as far as finding a cube root. So you may want to do this now. 2 times 60, right? 2 times 2 times 30. 2 times 2 times 2 times 15. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. How many got that when you did that? Now, is there a cube root there? Yes. What is it? 2. Since 2 appears 3 times, we can take the cube root out. Let's redo this right here. It's where we got some room. And we'll write it as we do this up here. Now, again, since this is negative, what kind of 2 comes out? A -2. What do we already have out here? I'm just going to write down what we have as we do this. So far, don't we have a -2 times a -2 out there? Took the 2 out with the negative. All right, what's left inside here? 15. So that takes care of the numbers. Now what do we do to find the cube root of x to the 6th? We got to do x to the 6th now. Say it one more time. This one's already out here. You always take a negative out when you have a negative in here. Came out on the 2 that we put it on the 2 we took out. Nope. It's like this. It's like this when I take it out. I explained that the last time we did it, but it got into so much detail people were getting confused. So to shortcut it, you just take out a negative anytime you have one. And it only works on odd roots. Isn't a negative times a negative times a negative still negative? That's why it works. All right, now x squared, because the cube root 3 goes into 6 twice. So we take out an x squared. Is there anything inside? No. So that leaves us 4x squared cube root of 15, doesn't it? -2 times -2, right? Negative times a negative. -2 times -2 is +4. Now, did anybody get that on your own? Give yourself 2 bonus points. Now I want you to try number 5. No. Is that number 2? Number 4. Is number 4 a 4th root? Let's do that. Do number 4. So what did you get inside? We're going to get a -6 outside. What's the number inside? -128. X to the 7th, yep. Now see, really, you're not really learning anything new, are you? Just the inside-outside thing's all you got to know, and then you can do it. You should know how to do this. Most of you did. Like I said, we had an 80% average, and might have been in here. I know one was 76% in one class. So most of you know what you're doing here, and you just made silly mistakes on your quiz. So let's go ahead and do the -128. That's a bunch of 2's, isn't it? Let's not do that. You got to keep going. I'm just doing them out. Well, 2 times 64. Then you got, well, you want to do that? Yes, I'm sorry. How many stopped there? How many did? Well, that's the thing is we're not doing square root, though. If you were doing a square root, you could stop there and take 8 out, but we're doing a 5th root. If you do this all the way out, and I'm shortcutting this, I'm not going to do it all the way out. You all should know how to do this by now. How many 2's are we going to get? Okay. If we keep going and did this all the way out, you'd get this. Now we need a 5th root, so that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 2's come out, don't they? Now really these are all negative because there's 5 negatives makes it negative. We can take a -2 out. Or you can just take a 2 out and make it negative because it was negative. We know that's what's going to happen anyway. So now we have a -2 times a -6. Let's do the exponent. How many times is 5 going to 7? So you take out an x to the 1st. Now what's left inside for the number? 2 times 2 is 4. Since x went in, or 5 went into the 7 once with 2 left over, be an x squared. So you still have, now some of you may be multiplying this together as soon as you're putting it out. That's good. I just wanted to show it. So do we have a positive 12x here? How many got that? Okay. I don't think we need any more examples, do we? All you're doing is multiplying outside times outside, in times inside, and then simplify like we did on the quiz last time. Okay, this is due when you come in tomorrow. You got time to work on it. We're not going to quiz tomorrow. We're going to go on to something else that we're going to put this in so we can move a little bit quicker on this, which this homework's due when you walk in tomorrow.